This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Monday, April 14th, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro says an arsonist set fire to his home. I'm Julie Walker.
Exemptions surrounding tariffs in D.C. creating some confusion. I'm Clayton Neville.
Fully fit to execute the duties of Commander-in-Chief and Head of State. That's what President Donald Trump's doctor is saying following his physical exam on Friday. I'm Donna Warder.
European countries vowed to send billions of dollars in further funding to help Ukraine. I'm Charles Villatesma.
Wall Street braces for more potential volatility after a roller coaster of a week. I'm Jill Schneider.
A New York judge has relaxed a ban that was placed on Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
All ahead on America in the Morning. A suspect is in custody after an alleged arsonist attempted to burn down the house of Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro. Correspondent Julie Walker reports.
Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro says an arsonist set fire to his home while he and his family were sleeping. Shapiro says they were awoken at 2 a.m. by state police banging on the door of the governor's mansion in Harrisburg. The fire was extinguished. It broke out on the first night of the Jewish holiday of Passover, which Shapiro and his family were celebrating. Earlier, he put a picture on social media of his Seder table. State police say the fire caused significant damage to part of the residence. I'm Julie Walker.
The Trump administration is creating some confusion surrounding its newly announced exemptions over tariffs. Correspondent Clayton Neville has the latest.
The Trump administration said late last week that announced tariffs on Chinese electronics would be partially or fully reversed in weeks to come. This viewed by some as a break for big tech companies. But this week began with a social media post by President Trump that said nobody's getting off the hook for the, quote, unfair trade balances and non-monetary tariff barriers that other countries have used against us. Trump insisted, especially not China, which he said by far treats us the worst.
Remember, those products are going to be part of the semiconductor sectoral tariffs, which are coming.
Trump's team told ABC's This Week that tariffs on electronics are coming.
So all those products are going to come under semiconductors, and they're going to have a special focus type of tariff to make sure that those products get reshored. We need to have semiconductors, we need to have chips, and we need to have flat panels. We need to have these things made in America. We can't be reliant on Southeast Asia for all of the things that operate.
Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick wouldn't give ABC an exact time frame.
What he's doing is he's saying they're exempt from the reciprocal tariffs, but they're included in the semiconductor tariffs, which are coming in probably a month or two. So these are coming soon. You shouldn't think this is really outside of it. Really think of it as being included in the semiconductor space, much like pharmaceuticals. These require special attention, and the president is on it.
Concerns from Democrats growing louder over the weekend. Senator Cory Booker and other Democrats point to confusion in Washington surrounding tariffs. He said President Trump now has a crisis in credibility, and people don't know if they can trust the president. And Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren spoke with CNN's State of the Union.
Here's the problem. You can't get an economy strong and moving forward when it's loaded with chaos and corruption. Investors will not invest in the United States when Donald Trump is playing red light, green light with tariffs.
I'm Clayton Neville.
The White House has released the results of President Trump's annual physical. A follow-up from Correspondent Donna Warder.
Fully fit to execute the duties of Commander-in-Chief and Head of State. That's what President Donald Trump's doctor is saying following his physical exam on Friday. The physician, Navy Captain Sean Barbabella, says in his report that the 78-year-old president has dropped 20 pounds since his last physical as president in 2020. He weighed 244 pounds back then and is now 224 pounds. The exam summary also notes that Trump previously had cataract surgery on both eyes, but doesn't say when. On Air Force One Friday, Trump told reporters that doctors gave him a complete check at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center.
Every test you can imagine is there for a long time.
The The president's total cholesterol is 140, his blood pressure 128/74, which is considered elevated, and he has a resting heart rate of 62 beats per minute, in line with previous tests. I'm Donna Warder.
A first look at the day's weather ahead on America in the Morning. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rinde.
A storm and an associated cold front will be moving eastward through the Great Lakes into the Ohio Valley today, and ahead of that front, there will be a push of warmer and a little more humid air through Indiana and Ohio, and then southward to Kentucky and eastward to Pennsylvania and West Virginia. This will set up the atmospheres for some gusty thunderstorms through the southern parts of Indiana into Ohio before shifting eastward tonight. A few of the storms will even continue through Maryland, Northern Virginia, and Delaware, and there could be some heavy rain, damaging winds, hail, and even a tornado with a few of these storms. Additional showers and thunderstorms will develop as far north as New York later today and then build into New England tonight. And there'll be some thunderstorms on the southern part of this front through Kentucky into Tennessee later this afternoon, and then continue into parts of northern Mississippi into Alabama tonight. Ahead of the front during the day, it'll be quite warm across the southern plains into the southeast. Temperatures will climb 10 to 20 degrees higher in some of these areas than this past weekend, with most places in the 80s, though some Texas locations will move back into the 90s and even a few 100s. Behind the system, it is going to spread much chillier air through the northern plains into the Great Lakes. There'll be some showers forming within that colder weather, and even some snow could mix in. Additional rain and snow showers will continue to develop at night through the Great Lakes, with a slushy accumulation possible. The western U.S. will be quieter with plenty of sunshine. Most places will be dry, though a scattered afternoon thunderstorm could be possible in the Sierra. That's the weather across America. After some cooler days this weekend, it'll be warmer today in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, with a sunshine and a high of 83. St. Cloud, Minnesota will be a little bit chillier with some sunshine and a high of 48. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rinde.
You can follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Listen on your preferred platform. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. The Houthi rebels are alleging that overnight, U.S. airstrikes in Yemen's capital have killed at least 6 people and wounded 30 others. For nearly a month now, the U.S. has been targeting Houthi sites in retaliation for their attacks on shipping lanes in the Red Sea. Footage aired by the Houthis' satellite news channel showed firefighters spraying water on a raging fire they described as being sparked by the airstrikes. The rebel group claims they've shot down a U.S. Reaper drone. Although Iran denies providing the Houthis with weapons, the group is in possession of Iranian-made surface-to-air missiles capable of downing aircraft. When reached for comment, U.S. Central Command did not acknowledge the airstrike, but said they were aware of reports of the drone being shot down, but did not elaborate. Countries in Europe are purportedly recommitting to aiding Ukraine in its fight against Russia. Correspondent Charles de Ledesma has more.
European countries vowed to send billions of dollars in further funding to help Ukraine keep battling Russia's invasion, as US envoy Steve Witkoff pursued peace efforts in a trip to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin amid growing questions about the Kremlin's willingness to stop the more than 3-year-old war. In Brussels, British Defence Minister John Healey said the fresh pledges of military aid total over $24 billion. Healey adds the surge aims to help frontline fighters in particular.
That's a package that includes radar systems, anti-tank mines, and hundreds and thousands of new drones.
Ukrainian Defence Minister Rustem Umerov says the meeting was productive, effective and efficient. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
In sports, Rory McIlroy emerged victorious at Augusta National as the winner of the 89th Masters tournament. The victory marked his 5th career golf major, but his first since 2014. Welcome back. This is America in the Morning. The Business Report is brought to you by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, always putting clients' interests first. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. CNBC's Jessica Ettinger is on assignment In for Jessica today, Jill Schneider.
Wall Street opens the week higher, but it wasn't easy getting there. Stocks climbed Friday after comments from the White House that President Trump is optimistic that China will seek a trade deal with the U.S. The Dow gained 619 points, up 5% for the week. The S&P 500 up 5.7% for the week. The Nasdaq ended the week 7% higher. Of course, tariff uncertainty was at the forefront of investors' minds this week, and that's added to recession fears. BlackRock chairman and CEO Larry Fink says we're very close, if not already in a recession now.
I still remain to be optimistic over the long run. Yes, we have to recalibrate. Yes, I do believe we're probably starting, if not, we're in a recession. Yes, I think the market is still underestimating how high inflation can get. If you factor in all the tariffs, right? You factor in all these other issues, it's going to be quite additive.
Barclays' Mike Pond says his firm is pricing in a recession for the second half of the year.
The sentiment numbers that we're seeing from the consumer are leading to weaker activity. So in the inflation data that we got, airline fares, hotel prices have plummeted. And that's a sign that the consumer is pulling back already on discretionary items ahead of concern about tariffs.
The biggest gainers in the Dow Friday, JP Morgan Chase, Apple, and IBM. The top gainers in the S&P 500, Monolithic Power Systems up 10% and Newmont Corporation up 8% as gold hit a new high. General Motors is cutting production of its all-electric delivery vans at a plant in Canada and will idle the facility through much of this year. That will mean the elimination of about 500 jobs. It's getting more expensive to finance a home. The average rate on the popular 30-year fixed-rate mortgage surged 13 basis points Friday to 7.1%. That's according to Mortgage News Daily, and that's the highest rate since mid-February. If you're not sure what to do with your investments in this whipsaw environment, you're not alone. Harris Financial Group managing partner Jamie Cox says there's nothing wrong with doing absolutely nothing for right now.
The majority of people are just sitting on their hands, just waiting to see and letting more information come in before they start making, big decisions with their portfolios. When the absence of information and the absence of really understanding what's going on, a lot of really smart people will just sit and wait. And if you're a long-term investor with portfolios that are balanced and diversified, that's largely the right decision for you. And I think that's what most people are doing right now.
On Monday's watch list, Meta's high-stakes antitrust trial against the U.S. Federal Trade Commission kicks off in Washington. We'll get Goldman Sachs earnings before the opening bell, and OPEC issues its monthly oil market report.
CNBC's Jill Schneider. Well, access to sensitive U.S. Treasury information. Doge will proceed after a federal judge rules in their favor. Correspondent Lisa Dwyer explains.
A New York judge has relaxed a ban that was placed on Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency to prevent Doge from accessing sensitive U.S. Treasury information. The judge now says that one Doge worker, Ryan Wunderlich, can access sensitive payment and data systems if he completes a training that Treasury employees typically go through before being granted such access, and if Wunderlich submits a financial disclosure report. The judge put the ban in place 2 months ago in response to a lawsuit brought by 19 Democratic state attorneys general who sued over privacy issues amid Doge's assertion that it was working to modernize Treasury payment systems. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
This is America in the Morning. An all-female, star-studded crew is set to take flight later today in a highly publicized Blue Origin suborbital space tourism mission. The 6-passenger flight will include pop singer Katy Perry, journalist Gayle King, and journalist Lauren Sanchez. Their journey will last about 10 minutes and take them 62 miles into the sky, where they'll get to experience a few minutes of weightlessness before returning to Earth. According to Blue Origin, the group will be the first all-women crew to launch into space since Russian astronaut Valentia Tereshkova flew a solo mission in 1963. It was on this date in 1828 that the first American dictionary was published. Its author, Noah Webster. On this date in 1865, U.S. President Abraham Lincoln was shot by John Wilkes Booth at Ford's Theater in Washington. Lincoln died 1 day later. America in the Morning for Monday, April 14th, 2025 is produced by Alexandra Hinton. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
Police have a man in custody in the arson of the home of Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro. I'm John Stolness.
He appeared to have been deceased for some time.
A Wisconsin teen charged with killing his parents as part of a plot to kill President Trump. I'm Bob Brown.
President Trump goes to the doctor for a physical exam. I'm Clayton Neville.
D.C. officials were left scrambling to fill a sudden $1.1 billion hole in the district's budget. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
Trump cuts a break for certain tech from getting big tariffs. I'm tech correspondent Chuck Palm.
Minecraft continues to dominate the box office. I'm Kevin Carr.
Back after these messages. You're with America in the Morning. Portions of the nation saw snow over the weekend, others record-breaking heat. Here's the Monday forecast from AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rinde.
There will be colder weather building into the northern plains and Great Lakes today, and behind that strong cold front, there will be some showers forming within that colder air, and even a little wet snow could mix in at times, and then we'll have additional rain and snow showers continuing to develop at night through the Great Lakes with a slushy accumulation possible. Now, ahead of that front, it is going to be warmer and a little more humid through Indiana and Ohio and southward to Kentucky and eastward to Pennsylvania and West Virginia. And this is going to set up the atmosphere for some gusty thunderstorms through the southern parts of Indiana into Ohio before shifting eastward tonight. A few of the storms will even continue through Maryland, Northern Virginia, and Delaware. There can be some heavy rain, damaging winds, hail, and even a tornado with a few of these storms. Additional showers and thunderstorms will form as far north as New York later today and then build into New England tonight. And then on the southern side of this, there'll be some thunderstorms through parts of Kentucky into Tennessee this afternoon, and then moving into northern Mississippi into Alabama tonight. And ahead of that front in the southeast, it'll be quite warm with temperatures climbing about 10 to 20 degrees higher than this past weekend, with most places in the 80s, and some Texas locations will hit the 90s and even 100s. The western U.S. will be much quieter with plenty of sunshine. Most places will be dry, though a scattered afternoon thunderstorm could develop over the Sierra Nevada. And then after some records in the southwest this past week, it will remain warm, but not near record levels. We'll have highs in the 60s and 70s in the north, and then warm into the mid-90s in parts of the southwest. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rinde.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Listen on your favorite platform. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro and his family are safe, and police have made an arrest after an alleged arsonist set fire to his home over the weekend. Following that story, our John Stolness.
I'm not fearful. I'm obviously emotional. I'm worried about my family. I want my kids to be okay.
Governor Shapiro reacting to the news. State police in Harrisburg arrested 38-year-old Cody Balmer for allegedly setting a fire that badly damaged the governor's mansion in the early morning hours of Sunday while the governor and his family were asleep. Dauphin County District Attorney Francis Chardo.
The charges will include attempted murder, terrorism, aggravated arson, and aggravated assault against an enumerated person. These are all very serious charges. As with any charges, the defendant is presumed innocent.
State troopers arrived at Shapiro's home at around 2 in the morning. The governor says he, his wife, their 4 children, 2 dogs, and another family staying with them to celebrate Passover on Saturday night were awakened by police and evacuated from the home. Shapiro says he will not be intimidated.
I refuse to let anyone who had evil intentions like that stop me from doing the work that I love, stop me from being a leader of this Commonwealth and looking out for all Pennsylvanians. I will not be deterred in my work, and I will not be afraid to do that work.
But the governor says these kinds of acts need to end.
This kind of violence is becoming far too common in our society. And I don't give a damn if it's coming from one particular side or the other. directed at one particular party or another, or one particular person or another. It is not okay. And it has to stop.
Police say Balmer hopped a fence and entered the house before setting it on fire with a homemade incendiary device. They say he managed to evade police as they responded to the scene and was later arrested in the area. I'm John Stolness.
A Wisconsin teenager is under arrest for murdering his parents as part of a plot to kill President Trump. Correspondent Bob Brown has details.
Waukesha County prosecutors charging 17-year-old Nikita Kasap with killing his mother, 35-year-old Tatiana Kasap, and his stepfather, 51-year-old Donald Mayer, inside their Wisconsin home in February as part of a plot to kill President Trump and overthrow the U.S. government. Prosecutors say the teen is charged with shooting the couple inside their home back on February 11th and stayed with the bodies for 12 days.
He appeared to have been deceased for some time, was unable to definitively identify who it was.
Kasap was arrested in Kansas in March, driving his father's car and in possession of his father's gun, along with $14,000. FBI officials say Kasap intended to use the money to fund a plan for the president's assassination. Authorities say they also found material on Kasap's phone related to the neo-Nazi group the Order of Nine Angles. Also, notes allegedly written by Kasap calling for the assassination of Trump and the start of a revolution to, quote, save the white race, which allegedly shows images of Adolf Hitler. Investigators say Kasap paid for drone and explosives to be used as a weapon of mass destruction to commit an attack. He was in court last week for a preliminary hearing. His next court appearance is set for May 7th. I'm Bob Brown.
President Trump's most recent physical results are in. Examining the findings, America in the Morning's Clayton Neville.
A note on the president's health was released by his doctor, Navy Captain Sean Barbabella, following the president's physical exam on Friday at Walter Reed Medical Center. It was an extensive checkup with diagnostic and lab testing and consultation with 14 consultants, according to the White House. So what did the doctors find? Well, the note said that President Trump is 75 inches tall, he weighs 224 pounds, has a resting heart rate of 62 beats a minute, and a blood pressure of 128/74. The doctor also noted scarring on Trump's right ear from a gunshot wound, which was sustained in last year's assassination attempt. The doctor said that Trump's physical exam raised no red flags or significant problems. He attributed that to what he called an active lifestyle. I'm Clayton Neville.
This is America in the Morning. I'm John Trout. Senator Chuck Schumer is weighing in on the deadly helicopter crash in New York City. Correspondent Julie Walker reports.
New York Senator Chuck Schumer is calling on federal authorities to revoke the operating permits of New York Helicopter Tours. That's the company whose sightseeing chopper broke apart in midair, plunging into the Hudson River Thursday, killing a family of 5 from Spain and the pilot, a Navy SEAL veteran.
Passengers deserve one level of safety, whether it's a plane ticket or a flight tour. For passenger helicopters that go from one place to the other, and for flights, there's a higher level of safety than for these tours.
The NTSB is still investigating the cause. Schumer also says the FAA should ramp up safety inspections of other helicopter tour companies.
It's such a tragedy, of course, that this family and the military veteran went down in a flash. One of the things we can do to honor those lives and try and save others is to make sure it doesn't happen again. And we have to know that we know there is one thing for sure about New York City's helicopter tour companies. They have a deadly track record.
In response, industry group Eastern Region Helicopter Council says Manhattan sightseeing choppers already operate under the most stringent of regulations. Julie Walker, New York.
Late yesterday, the FAA announced the helicopter tour company would cease operation immediately and that they're launching a review of the company's operating license and safety records. Facebook's parent company Meta will begin its face-off against the Federal Trade Commission in court today in a case that could result in Meta being forced to sell off Instagram and WhatsApp. The FTC filed an antitrust lawsuit back in 2020, claiming that Meta should not have been allowed to buy the two apps because it's given them a monopoly in the personal social networking market. Meta has pushed back on this claim and has maintained that it's not a monopoly and that its ownership of Instagram and WhatsApp has not harmed competition. The case is expected to last for several weeks and see many current and former Meta executives testify, along with top brass from rival companies like TikTok, Snap, and YouTube. The District of Columbia is facing a major budget shortfall. Correspondent Lisa Dwyer has details.
D.C. officials were left scrambling to fill a sudden $1.1 billion hole in the district's budget after the U.S. House of Representatives left for a 2-week recess and after President Donald Trump called for House Republicans to address the issue immediately. When the federal government funding bill was passed in March, the legislation forced the district to revert spending back to its 2024 budget levels. The U.S. Senate came up with a fix for the problem, but the House failed to bring that proposal to the House floor before heading out of town. D.C. officials say that any cuts to services, particularly the district's police force, could jeopardize public safety in the nation's capital. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
At least 6 people have been injured, one of them critically, after a house explosion in Austin, Texas. The explosion happened before 11:30 a.m. and left at least 24 homes with reported damage. Authorities say there was a vehicle on fire at the address of the house explosion. Investigators say everyone who lives in the area has been accounted for. The incident is still under investigation, but at a press conference, Assistant Fire Chief Thayer Smith said they don't expect there will be a criminal investigation. Over to Alabama, where a woman who lived with a pig kidney for a record 130 days had the organ removed after her body began rejecting it and is now back on dialysis. Tawana Looney is recovering well from the removal surgery and is about to return home. Before Looney, only 4 other Americans had received experimental transplants of gene-edited pig organs, 2 hearts, 2 kidneys. Those transplants all lasted no longer than 2 months, and the recipients, who were severely ill before the surgery, passed away. In a statement, Looney thanked her doctors for, quote, the opportunity to be part of this incredible research, end quote. A new extremist group calling themselves Revolutionary Class Struggle is taking credit for a bomb that exploded in Greece. Correspondent Jennifer King has more on the story.
In Athens, Greece, forensic investigators in white coveralls were combing the scene after an explosion near the offices of Hellenic Train, Greece's main railway company. Authorities say a bag containing an explosive device went off on Friday night, causing limited damage, and there were no reports of injuries. Local media said a newspaper and a website received anonymous calls warning that the bomb had been planted outside the railway company offices and would explode within about 40 minutes. The normally busy area was cordoned off to keep residents and tourists away. It's a bomb. There have been criticisms and protests over the government's handling of a 2023 train collision in northern Greece. The disaster killed mostly young people returning to university after a holiday break. The crash exposed severe deficiencies in Greece's railway and safety systems. I'm Jennifer King.
In an online post, the extremist group dedicated the bombings to the Palestinian people and their heroic resistance. America in the Morning continues. The Trump administration late Friday gave the U.S. a break by excluding certain tech like cell phones and computers from the heavy tariffs on imported electronics. Our Chuck Palm files this report.
Late Friday afternoon, the Trump administration granted exclusions from the steep reciprocal tariffs and a select few other electronic products. This prompted a sigh of relief from big tech firms like Apple and Dell Technologies, but the U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said the reprieve won't last for long. In fact, Lutnick said that a special focus type of tariff on smartphones, computers, and other electronic products would resume in a month or 2, alongside other tariffs targeting semiconductors and pharmaceuticals. Backing up his comments, a White House official told media that Trump would launch a new national security trade investigation into semiconductors very soon, and that could lead to other tariffs. Lutnick also said that these things are national security and that they need to be made in America. Beijing responded by increasing tariffs to 125% on Friday in response. For more tech news, find me at chuckpalm.com.
Here's your Monday sports update with our Robert Workman.
It was a long time coming, but Rory McIlroy finally completed his career Grand Slam, winning his first Masters on Sunday in a playoff over Justin Rose. The Irishman won 4 major titles in as many years early in his career, but the last of those was in 2014, and it did not include a green jacket. McIlroy grabbed the lead at Augusta on Friday and Saturday, but Sunday felt like the previous 11 years in microcosm. He was up by 2 strokes heading into the final round. That disappeared within the first 2 holes. But then he roared out to a 5-stroke lead before falling back into a 3-way tie. A beauty birdie on 15 put him on top again, but Rose birdied 18 and waited. McIlroy then missed short putts on 17 and 18 to go into the playoff. But then the golfing gods finally smiled on his Irish eyes as Rose missed his 15-foot birdie putt and McIlroy sank his 4-footer for the win. He's the 6th player ever to capture the career slam, the first since Tiger Woods 25 years ago. Final day of the regular season in the NBA. In the Western Conference, only the top 3 playoff spots had been locked up. The Thunder, the Rockets, and the Lakers. OKC pounded the Pelicans for its association best 68th win of the season. Nuggets rocked Houston to sew up the 4 seed. They will play the Clippers, who outlasted the Warriors in overtime. LA forward Norman Powell.
I think sky's the limit for us in the playoffs. We got some time to rest and lock back in, get our bodies right, our minds right.
The loss knocked the Dubs into the play-in round. Timberwolves topped the Jazz to nab the 6th seed. The Grizzlies won and will meet Golden State. The Kings won and they'll host the Mavericks. In the East, the Pacers down the Cavaliers in double overtime. Cleveland still finished with 64 wins and the top seed in the conference, despite going just 8-8 down the stretch. Wins for the Celtics and the Knicks. Boston, New York, and Indiana round out the top 4 in the East. It was the Bucks over the Pistons in overtime. Milwaukee won 8 straight to grab the 5 seed ahead of Detroit. The Magic, the Hawks, the Bulls, and the Heat are in the play-in field, which begins tomorrow. Hockey, the Oilers slipped past the Jets 4-1, but when the Blue Jackets topped the Capitals 4-1, Winnipeg was assured of the President's Trophy for the best record in the NHL regular season. Baseball, the Padres own the best record in the majors after shutting out the Rockies 6-0. The top 5 records in the big leagues belong to National League clubs. San Diego followed by the Giants and the Mets. Then the Dodgers and the Cubs. Chicago won their tussle last night in LA. The Tigers and the Angels share the best mark in the American League, though both lost on Sunday. That's Monday Sports.
You're with America in the morning. There were some surprises at the box office, even with Minecraft's power. Correspondent Kevin Carr has the tally of this weekend's ticket stubs.
This weekend's box office was a face-off between a chicken jockey and biblical animation.
Chicken jockey!
A Minecraft movie easily took first place for its second weekend with $81 million.
Welcome to the overworld.
Now, the biggest hit of the year, the open-ended video game adaptation, has built a worldwide total of more than $500 million and counting.
Our story begins 2,000 years ago when baby Jesus came into the world.
In second place was a dark horse finish for The King of Kings. This animated tale about Charles Dickens telling the story of Jesus brought in $19 million.
You have the wrong person.
No, I have exactly the right person.
Third place belonged to The Amateur with $15 million.
You're just a nerdy fella that works on computers.
The budget for this Rami Malek revenge film was $60 million, so it's gonna need some legs to break even. 2 other newcomers rounded out the top 5.
Redman 08 is profane. We're seeing activity converging to your north and south.
Directed by Civil War's Alex Garland and Iraq war vet Ray Mendoza, Warfare stormed into 4th place with $8.3 million.
What do you want from me?
And finally, the modestly budgeted gimmick thriller Drop debuted in 5th place with $7.5 million.
The Avengers are not coming.
We have 2 more weeks of springtime action releases before the summer movie season officially starts with Thunderbolts in May. I'm Kevin Carr.
Myrtle, a cherished pet tortoise, has been reunited with its family in Mississippi weeks after disappearing during a deadly tornado outbreak in March. The Emanuel family fled their home in the rural Kokomo area as a tornado hit March 15th. They returned to find 2 pine trees had fallen on top of their pet's backyard home and that Myrtle was missing. Weeks later, a neighbor found the injured tortoise and took it to a turtle rescue center for medical treatment, not knowing it was someone's pet. However, after speaking with the Emanuel family, the woman realized she had found their beloved tortoise and told them where it could be found. The family called up the shelter and was happily reunited with their slow-moving friend, who no doubt, when he saw his family, was a little shell-shocked. America in the Morning for Monday, April 14th, 2025 is produced by Alexander Hinton. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.